Hello, hi, it's Menkesh here with more music theory, another music theory lecture, I guess. This time I'm not going through anything that you can find in any kind of normal place. In fact, these might be my own ideas. They might not be. I don't know if anyone else is thinking about this kind of stuff as well. So I'm not trying to claim anything, but these are kind of things I've been thinking about for many years, and I'm using these now in my own analysis, and I think it's going to help me kind of get a much better understanding of music as a system, and I just want to share it with everyone in case anyone else feels the same way. So basically, what I'm here to talk about today is like which mode you should use when you're analyzing music. Typically, people use major or minor, depending on, if they think the song is in a major or a minor key. I think there's a lot of problems with doing that. The main one being, you can have the same chord sequence, and just depending on whether you think it's major or minor, you'll end up with different numbers. So, for example, I'll just give an example. If you have, let's just say, chord sequence of C major, G major, A minor, F major, then the numbers you'll end up with if you're thinking in a major key are 1, 5, 6, 4. But if you're thinking in a minor key, those will be 3, 7, 1, 6. So that can't be right in my way of thinking. I think we need a standardized system, and to be honest, I really cannot think of any reason why they should be separated. The main reason, I guess, you could argue they should be is because you could say, oh, well, that's what the composer was thinking. But I think if you're trying to do analysis in any kind of field, you really want to find, the most standardized and accurate system possible, not really just trying to guess, what someone was thinking. They might have no idea what they're doing, and I'm sure, without meaning to offend them, because many people have made great music, but there'll definitely have been a lot of great music made where the composer of the music really didn't know what they were doing. So I think if you're trying to get into a music analysis, it's really important to have a very standardized system. For a long time I've been thinking that there should just be one mode for analysis, and it's only I don't know when I started thinking that Dorian is the one to go, but that's what I'm here to say. Dorian is the right one for us, human people to use. I've written computer programs that have used major before, and it doesn't matter if you're a computer really which bass you're using. It doesn't need to know. It's not going to make it any easier for it to understand one or another. But as humans, there are a lot of reasons why I think Dorian is the one to go for, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. Okay, so why the Dorian? Let me check my notes. Okay, so firstly, just symmetry. When you start learning music theory, and if you're kind of thinking in a major or minor key, you rapidly start to find stuff that's just weird and makes no sense, seemingly. So if you, for example, just let's just talk about the key that has no sharps and flats. I don't want to call it C major or A minor anymore, so I'm just going to call it D Dorian. But basically, that's the one that we'll talk about for this whole little conversation. If you're looking on a piano and you're trying to find a symmetry between the white notes and black notes, in respect to the diatonic scale on the Y notes only, The only symmetry you're going to find is from D to D, and that's the Dorian mode on the white notes. That ties in totally to the interval patterns that you learn. So in a major key, that's tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And in a Dorian, it's tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone. So again, that's symmetrical in a Dorian mode. And, you might be thinking, oh, who cares if it's symmetrical? But it's because I think it really leads to a much greater understanding of music. And, well, what I'm hoping from, making this switch myself is that I'm going to find patterns that I've missed from using different systems like major and minor. I think that's been a big mistake, and maybe a lot of wasted time. And I feel I'm going to learn a lot more from making the switch. So if you feel the same way, then come on board with me. So there's other things that are very interesting that come out of doing this. So one thing I found a long time ago is if you're starting in this key, D, or C major, A minor, but I'm just going to call it like D now. We have no sharps and flats, and normally if you're finding a sharp or a flat that's not in that original diatonic scale, it will take a different amount of steps to find it one way, in a flat way or a sharp way. So, for example, finding, let's say, B flat, for example, you only need to go one step left to find that pitch. You need to go 5 steps right to find it, or anti-clockwise and clockwise. So, we find it just by going to F major, but, I'll call it G. So you find it one way that way. Or just staying a major key, you find it again at B, so you have to go around 5 steps to find that. And there is one out of key pitch that you can find just by going 3 steps each way, and that's from our original key, D. It's the G sharp. So we already kind of knew that this is a special pitch in a minor key because that's the sharp on 7th, the leading note. So if you're starting in what you think is A minor, you get that G sharp, and that's very common. Lots of people over hundreds of years have known about that that's a very important pitch to use in music. But what's interesting that I've found, more recently, and from this way of thinking, is that that's actually the diminished 5th or augmented 4th from your Dorian starting. So we're starting at D, and we have that G sharp or A flat. And, that's actually, we'll talk about Pythagorean tuning in a moment, but that's actually the furthest out of key you can get. So I find it very interesting that there's that symmetry as well. This just consolidates this in my mind that absolutely Dorian is the way to go, because you go both ways, and then you find this furthest pitch out at like 9 or 3 or however you want to count it, 3 steps each way. And that's a very, very special pitch, because that's the, not only through Pythagorean tuning can we see it, but that's, Diabolus in Musica, the devil in music. It's a pitch that for many centuries people have known to sound dissonant and evil and harsh. So they, either through the maths or just through their listening, people have known that that's something you want to avoid if you want to make things sound as consonant and like nice, I guess, as possible. And if you want to spice things up and make it sound a bit nasty, then that's where you need to go. So that was a very interesting symmetry for me. And then talking about Pythagorean tuning, you can look this up online on Wikipedia, but basically if you start with any note, and we're not even talking about keys here, You can start with any notes, and then that will be obviously the closest you can get to your key. And then in the next two brackets, you'll have a fifth and a fourth. They're kind of equidistant, from the your unison, depending on how you're calculating the distance. And then we already know that these are kind of very strong notes in any key, so that's not a surprise. But then the next ones are a major second and a minor seventh. It's interesting to see the minor seventh there, because that already rules out the major key. And then in the third bracket, we actually have a minor third and a major sixth, which completes the Dorian scale. The diatonic scale, starting whatever pitch you're starting with. So they're the closest pitches to find. And then if you're looking for major third or minor sixth, then you need to go further out. So it's just one of those other things that just backs everything up and kind of makes you realize, though, this is the right diatonic scale to be using as the bass. I had one other point, which is just going back to what's even the point in doing this. Of course, it's going to be a challenge to change my way of thinking. I've mentioned that I think I'm going to find patterns I haven't found before. I guess that's the main one for me, but also I think I don't know if anyone else will use this or not, but when you're learning music theory, you come across a lot of things that just don't really make sense and just make the whole system a lot harder than it needs to be. For example, if we just think about the names of the keys, and if we're thinking in major key, we start in C major. So we have C major, and then if we start flattening, we go F major, then we have B flat major. So already in the no name, we have a flat. But to find a sharp, we have to go all the way around, like 6 steps to get an F sharp. So it's just confusing. Why do you only have to go 2 steps left to find a key that's named with a flat, and why do you have to go 6 to find one that's named with a sharp? And that is confusing, but if we're using a Dorian mode, then you just need to go 1, 2, 3, 4 steps each way. So we start on D, then we have G and A, then we have C and E, F and B, and then B flat and F sharp. So it's already a lot neater in that respect. So I think it's going to totally help me understand music better, and it's something I wanted to share with everyone else. Like I said, it's not, if I work in, computer music software, so it's not anything that, it's any kind of algorithm or anything. This is totally to help people understand music better. If you want to join me on this journey, I've made a Facebook group, the Dorian School of Music Theory, I think it's called, but I'll put the link, in the comments or in the description. And stay happy, well, and enjoying your music, and thank you for listening.